One disclaimer before we go in these reviews: this is not a paid review. These were sent to me by a viewer and not by the companies that I'm reviewing. It's a fair, honest review. Hi guys, it's Laura with DV Homestead, and today I am going to be doing product reviews on butter churns and butter makers. I have 5 altogether to review. I've already got my cream ready. These 3 churns each needed the cream to set between 1 and 2 hours to get it to about 64, 65 degrees Fahrenheit. I just kind of let them get close to room temperature. This particular one has a fill line, so you don't have to measure out the cream level. But this one takes 1 1/3 cups, and this one takes 2 1/8. So this first one is the Fresh Butter Maker from PL8, and it's more of a churn style. It's got a wooden stick that goes down in there. This is a Kilner butter churner. It has a metal gear and tooth, and it's a hand crank. And I think that might be, it's either silicone or rubber. I think it's a hard, or sorry, not rubber, or a hard plastic. I think it's a hard plastic. I didn't double check. And then this one is the Labonne grain butter churn. Most of the stuff on it's written in French, so I think it might be from France or something. The website puts it in France as well. The Kilner is British, and the PL8 is an American-made design, but it's made in China. Or was this one China? Yeah, this one was China. So let's go ahead and get started. So for the Fresh Butter Maker, basically you just do short, just like an old-fashioned butter churn. And you're supposed to do this for about 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah, it's moving. Do you want to be the cameraman? Huh?
Not particularly.
Please?
Not particularly.
Ready, please?
With butter on top?
Yeah, with butter on top. Okay, so it says begin churning with a short up and down tamping motion at a moderate pace for 10 to 15 minutes. As density of cream increases, tamping speed should also increase. Let's churn some butter. I'm about 8 minutes in, and there's no
Has it been 8 minutes?
No difference to the cream yet.
Been sitting here for 8 minutes?
Pretty much. And I still don't have butter yet. So I think that's about as much butter as I'm going to get out of it. Took 30 minutes to do that. So now I've got to drain off the buttermilk and rinse it. So I'll be right back. Okay, so after you separate your buttermilk from your butter, you have it all pressed down here on the bottom. What you need to do is add in a cup of cold water. I stuck some ice cubes in this to try to make it a little cooler. And so you pour in a cup of cold water. And then you have to churn some more to rinse your butter out, because if you leave buttermilk in your butter, it can cause your butter to go rancid. And the instructions did say to rinse it with cold water. So I'll put the splash guard back on with the tamper, and I'll sit here and get it rinsed out. Alright, so I'm going to go drain the water on this real quick, and then we're going to get the butter out of this, so I'll be right back. So I have it all rinsed out, and when you're rinsing it and getting the butter or the water out, you make sure that you're using the dasher and you'll have the splash guard open, and you can use the dasher to press any other liquids out of the butter. So once you're done with that, you have your butter on the bottom. This particular butter churn, you take the dasher and you push it against the bottom to open it up to get some of the butter out. I'm just going to take a spatula here and put my butter in the bowl. So at this point is where you can put in your salt or your herbs or seasoning, whatever you want to do to make your butter flavored, or you can just leave it unsalted butter. When you do stick the butter in the fridge, it becomes like a stick butter. It hardens up. But right now it is very soft, very, very soft, creamy butter. So I don't know if I even got a half cup of butter out of that. But this is the Fresh Butter Maker by PL8. And I'm going to have a lot of dishes to do. But here's the box. If you want to do more of a hand churned butter like the old pioneers did. Okay. I'm going to clean up this mess, and then we're going to work on the kilner because it volunteered to be next. Be right back. This is the kilner. It's got a heavy glass container that you churn in, as opposed to the one that I just did, which has a plastic. This doesn't screw on or anything, you just press it into place. One thing I do like about this is it has metal gears and teeth here. It's got a nice handle, and then you just churn. It says after 5 to 6 minutes, I should notice the cream turning foamy and thicken. After 8 to 10 minutes, it'll turn very thick. After 10 to 12 minutes, it'll become a lot harder, and then I should... So basically, I'm going to be supposed to be able to do this 15 minutes before I get butter. So let's see what we get. It's about 5 minutes. I don't see it being foamy. So we'll keep going. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes, and this is supposed to be very thick. It doesn't look very thick. So I'll just keep turning. It looks foamy, but I'm not seeing the butter fat separate yet. And it's been 14 minutes since I started turning. I don't have separation of butter fat after 20 minutes of churning. Oh goodness, look at the shavings on top of here. Look at the shavings coming off that metal as it works harder to grind. That's not good. What kind of metal does that?
Soft metal.
Folks, 40 minutes in. I've got metal shavings on the top. I don't have butter truly separating from the cream, and this is starting to skip. So I don't know if it's just a defective butter churn or what, because I've read some of the reviews on this and people love them. So I don't know if this one's just defective or what, but I'm not able to really go much further. I've got whipped cream in there. The butter's starting to separate, but not a whole much. After 40 minutes of churning. Oh, churning lasts between 3 and 8 minutes. Let's see if this works. Oh, that churns pretty smooth. It's not a struggle for me, but look, you can see the butter sitting against the glass. It's 7 minutes. I'm gonna churn it for a little bit longer, but look at all that butter in there. 7 minutes, folks. 7 minutes. Not 30, not 40. I got 7 minutes right here. And it did get out the top a little bit. It did leak as I churned, but look at that. Look at all the butter in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the buttermilk drained out. I'm gonna rinse the butter with cold water. They suggest doing it in a separate bowl with cold water, maybe add ice cubes and massage it with your hands. I'm just gonna go ahead and rinse it in here with ice cold water and use my spatula to press it out. And then I'll put it in a bowl like this when we get back. Okay, so I went ahead and I rinsed the butter. I just used the spatula to clean it off inside. This is the butter from the Le Bon Grain French butter churn. Oh, look how whipped and creamy that is compared to the other churn. That is beautiful. And that's at least a cup of butter right there. So that's about 2 sticks of butter, where that may be a stick of butter. Next on the list here is the Easy Butter Maker. Says 2 sticks of unsalted butter in 1-inch cubes and press lightly into the lower pot, or 1 cup olive oil instead of the butter. So this, even though it says it's an easy butter maker, you cannot make butter with this, but since it was sent to me to do a review on, I'm going to go ahead and do a review on it as well, with my unsalted butter that I just made. So I'm going to need to measure out a cup of that, and this basically is an infuser. So it says Easy Butter Maker. It's just for infused butters or oils. It's just an infuser. It's not a maker. That's false advertising there, right there, folks. So fill with finely chopped herbs close to the top of the filter. I'm going to do about half that because I'm going to be using some dried herbs. I don't have any fresh herbs. It doesn't say whether or not to use fresh or dried herbs. It just says finely chopped, so I'm guessing fresh. Okay, so I just chose an Italian seasoning blend for my herbs. I'm going to be making some pasta tonight, and I figure a nice Italian herb butter would go well with the noodles. Okay, so I'll be back. We'll see how this works. Alright, so I have a chunk of homemade honey wheat bread, and I'm going to try dipping it in this herb infused butter mixture. Again, it's not a butter maker, it's a infuser, a herbal infuser. It definitely picked up the flavor of the herbs. So it's been 6 hours since I let the cream set here in the Buttercup butter maker. It says fill the jar with 1 cup of heavy whipping cream that has been stored at room temperature for 6 to 8 hours. Shake until butter separates, about 3 minutes. Strain out the buttermilk through the top of the jar, which is a strainer type design, and rinse and strain with cold water and repeat the step until it's clean. And then the butter comes out in the ramekin on the bottom, and salt to taste. So I'm going to go ahead and I will start shaking for 3 minutes is how long it's supposed to take to make it. And this is very similar to the mason jar method that you can do just with any old mason jar. But let's try it out and see how this one works. I'm at 3 minutes and I'm still waiting for the butter to hit hard against the sides and make it feel a little off kilter. And there we go. Still within the 3-minute mark. I'm going to shake it for a little bit longer, get it up to about 4 minutes. Nah, I'll just stop here. You can kind of see the butter in there a little bit. So I'm going to go strain this, rinse it with cold water, repeat with cold water until it kind of runs clear, and then I'll show you the butter. Be back soon. So I strained the buttermilk out of this, and then I rinsed it, and they want you to rinse it through the little strainer holes they have on it, but these strainer holes clog up with the butter and it makes it really hard to do. I did it, but it didn't make much sense to me to have that strainer there. It's cute, helps keep the butter from falling out, but I don't think it's really worth it to have that there. I think it's more of an inconvenience than it is worthwhile. So I'm going to get the butter out. It's got a nice light texture to it. Apparently I didn't get all the water out of this. There's still a lot of water dripping out of this because, as I said, the strainer holes are clogged with butter. So I'll have to press more water out of this once I finish getting it in the ramekin here. And look at that. It's all clogged up there at the strainer holes. Let's see how much butter I can get off there. Quite a big pad on that side. Another decent pad on this side. Okay. So I'll do the bread test. I didn't think to do this with the other ones, but I'm hungry now, so I'm going to do it with this one. I'm going to take a little bit of this butter here, spread it on some bread. It's as creamy and has as a good whip texture to it, just like the Laban did. So, let me get this cleaned up real quick and I'll give you my final opinion. I need to go squeeze some more water out of this real quick, and then I can store it in the fridge. Be right back. Alright, so basically the down and dirty of it is I tested out 5 different products. Let's talk about the one I just reviewed, or used, the Buttercup Butter Maker by Churn. This is designed in USA, made in China. To me, it's not worth spending the extra money to get because I think the strainer portion on the top of it is more a hindrance and a pain than it's worth. I like the idea of the ramekin that comes off the bottom and you can make it and serve it up like that. But essentially all it is the mason jar method, and you can, if you can or have mason jars, you can get a case of mason jars for less than you can get this for. Of the little half of the pint-sized ones. That's all this is pint-sized mason jar knockoff. It did make good creamy butter, but to me it's not worth it. This one I'm disappointed in, the Kilner butter churner. The red one, I think I got a defective one. I think something's up with the gears. My husband thinks the gears might need to be cleaned, so I might do another review on it another time if we can get it to work right. But after 40 minutes of churning, it just was not doing what we needed it to do. So I was very disappointed because I was excited because it had metal teeth and gears, but it was just dropping metal shavings on top of the lid, and I was worried that it might work its way under into the butter. So I didn't even use that cream for anything else. I didn't trust it. So I was very disappointed with the Kilner. The next one, the Fresh Butter Maker. This one has a splash guard on it and a agitator, dasher, tamper, whatever you want to call it. They call it a dasher. Removable base. This was a pain in the butt. This truly was a pain. It took 30 minutes to get butter. The splash guard, I still got splash all over the table. It was the messiest one out of all of them. It did give some pretty good butter, and I like the idea of the removable base, but I don't see that as something that would stand up to time because it's got the rubberized base. I think that rubber would break down and you'd lose your seal over time. So this I wasn't too happy with either. As I said, it took 30 minutes. They say it's supposed to take 10 to 15, and it didn't. A whole lot of work for not even a half cup of butter. So the one that really surprised me was this one, the Le Bon Grain, the French butter churn. It surprised me a lot because of the plastic gear and tooth ensemble. See the little picture? I made butter in 8 minutes. It said 3 to 8 minutes. I went 10 just to make sure I got the last little smidgens of butter fat out. And that was really creamy, delicious butter. And it also churned the most milk. It churned the most cream. It did 2 1/8 cups of cream and gave me over a cup of butter, or about a cup of butter. So I was very happy with this one because it worked like it was supposed to, and it gave me the most bang for the buck. It gave me the most bang for the buck because the amount of energy that it took for me to make butter, it wasn't much. It was easy to turn. It was wonderful to turn, and it gave me some really delicious creamy butter. So I was very, very happy with it. So out of the 4 actual butter makers, churners, this one was by far my favorite, and that really surprised me, again, because of the gear construction. Here's the imposter. The easy butter maker, herb butter or oil in about 10 minutes. You use pre-made butter, unsalted. And even though I goofed on the instructions, and I forgot to add water, it still did what it was supposed to do. And the herb flavored butter is going to go great with my pasta tonight. But again, it's an imposter. It is not truly a butter maker. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and you can check us out on Facebook. Talk to you later. Bye.